Great. Good morning, Michael. Thanks so much. Thanks, Brad, for getting everything set up for us, and I want to thank you all for participating in this. I was communicating back and forth with Michael, and this is a little different topic than many of them that I have done in the past. Although I have a real passion for this, because as Michael said, we've been doing this for a lot of years. We're actually in about 200 dealerships a year, and over the years I've been doing this, I have really tried to tune into what is it that makes really high performing successful dealerships successful. And again, while I think there are a lot of things there, and I know there are a lot of things that are involved with it, but I really have found to believe that there are really kind of 7 core things that if you as a dealership or as an owner or a manager are making happen inside of your dealership, you're going to really have some high performance. You're going to have excited, passionate, motivated employees. I think you're going to have customers that are excited and passionate about what they're doing, and you're going to be profitable. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to thank Yanmar. I have a lot of Yanmar dealers that we work with. It's a wonderful company. They got some really cool new product that they're bringing into the marketplace, and again, it's always nice from a speaker standpoint to have companies like Yanmar that will step up and help make these things free for dealers and for managers and for the employees in dealerships. They understand the importance of having high-performance dealerships from their business's perspective. And again, I just want to thank the folks at Yanmar for their willingness to sponsor this. I think one of these real eye-opening webinars that hopefully you'll get a lot out of. As Michael said, if you've been in my webinars in the past, we always have a worksheet. I'm a trainer by trade, and so we have a worksheet that we'll be sending out that'll basically let you rate yourself on each of these principles from a dealership standpoint, or if you're an owner, this would be a great exercise for you to take your managers through on your weekly managers meetings, and just have them rate you as an owner, or you as a general manager, or as a principal on these, and then put some things in place to kind of move you forward on them. So anyway, I'm excited about this webinar. Like I say, it's a little bit more of a 30,000-foot view. We only have an hour to go through these, so I'm going to go through them and touch on some of the key principles, the key points in each principle as we go through it. Hopefully kind of get your mind opened up and thinking from an owner, general manager, dealer principal standpoint, and then you can take these principles and start working through them. I had a person the other day we were talking to, and they go, so do you have to have all 7 of these principles to be profitable and to be successful? I said, no, not at all. I have a lot of dealerships I work with that don't have all 7 principles in place. Every dealership has some of them. Regardless of how good or bad you think you are, you're never as good or bad as you might perceive. I said, so every dealership that exists today in any industry has, and they're doing some of these. What I've just discovered is the really high-performing dealerships, the really profitable dealerships, the dealerships that really can retain those valuable, those really good employees and have incredible customer experiences, they're the ones that have really embraced all 7. And they're constantly working to improve and to make them better. Nobody's perfect. That's the reality of life. I've had my company 30 years. We try to do all 7 of these principles and have been trying to do these for the last probably 15 years, and it's drastically changed my business. So regardless of the business that you're in, whether you're in a dealership or a retail store, it doesn't make any difference. I think the principles are base principles that we all need to embrace and to go through. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, I want to thank Michael on Real Lifestyle. I love working with him. Just a great publication, and thank Yanmar as we go through it. As Michael said, we will have question time at the end. So as you have questions pop up, just shoot them on in, and Michael will be pulling those together. And as we get to the end, I'll answer as many as we can. And if I can't have time to do them, Michael will send them to me, and then I'll get with you personally and just see if I can help you through these things. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 1 principle is stop the bleeding. I would say of all the things, when we are invited into a dealership to do consulting with them, this is the very first thing that we're looking at is where are you currently bleeding at right now? And when I talk about bleeding, I'm talking about in the context of cash flow. What is sucking the life out of your dealership? What are those few things that if you just stop those things, things would automatically start getting better. And I tell people there's a lot of things in dealerships many times that we consult with that need to be fixed, but nothing is more important than cash flow. And if you're an owner or a dealer principal or a partner in a dealership, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. Nothing happens, nothing can succeed in the dealership if we don't have a good, strong flow of cash that's moving through our dealership all the time. So nothing matters. It doesn't matter about your management skills, your leadership style, your vision, your plans. It doesn't matter about processes. If you are bleeding cash, there is nothing else that is more important than to stop that bleeding. And that's the thing I find that really successful dealerships are constantly going back and evaluating this first principle, stop the bleeding, and they're asking themselves the question that we should be all asking ourselves: what is killing us right now? What are the things right now that if you could stop would make your life better? What are the things right now that if you could eliminate out of your dealership, out of your business, would make your life better? And that's what we're talking about with stop the bleeding. What is killing you right now? And those are some things that as you get your managers together, if you're an owner or a principal or a partner in a business, those are the things that you need to be looking at by department. Now, there's some things that I've found as I consult that are just almost always there. And I tell my dealers, you know, it's all about cash flow. I don't have to keep beating on that, but it's all about cash flow. And one of the things that drives me nuts in dealerships is the amount of overtime that dealerships pay out to their people. It is an incredible cash drain. You don't gain anything from it. And I know dealers say, yeah, Bob, but you don't understand. I mean, we're really busy and we just can't keep up. You can't keep up because you don't have one of the other principles in place, which is defined processes and procedures. There is no reason a shop who's only recovering at 50%, who's only billing out 4 or 5 hours in an 8-hour day, should ever be paying technicians overtime pay. You are not selling the current time you're buying, and you're buying more time, and you're draining your cash flow out of your business. There is no reason that you should be paying parts people at the counter overtime to come in and do inventory counts and things like this. They're not busy all the time. I know they say they are, but they're not, right? There's plenty of time in an 8-hour day to do those things. We shouldn't be paying overtime to people to do work that they should be able to get done during the time frame that they're in their business right now. So overtime is the first thing that I look at. What are you paying in overtime, and why in the name of the Lord are you paying it? So that's one of the things you have to look at there. So if you're paying lots of overtime out right now, that's a cash flow issue that you need to stop right away. The other one is accounts receivables. You know, I see a lot of my dealers still out there carrying accounts receivables. And again, you're not a bank. You were never meant to be a bank. You need the cash, right? I know you want the business in, but there are a lot of ways today for customers to get access to credit without using you as a bank. And so as you look at your income statements and your balance sheets, as you look at your accounts receivable, there's a lot of cash that I have a lot of dealers that are just sitting on there that needs to be freed up. And so there's a lot of different finance programs out there that your customers have access to and if you don't know what they are, get in touch with me and I can guide you to some of them, where these folks like Yard Card would be one. I have a lot of my dealers that use Yard Card. But it's one of those that they can take over your accounts receivable for you. They can give the customers 90 days same in cash. You get all your money flowing back into your business and everything goes good again. I understand that there are cities, municipalities, you have some of your large customers that are not a problem. But when you got cash or accounts receivables that are older than 30 days, you desperately need that money in your business, especially at so slow season. So you got to put your arms around and you got to rethink your whole attitude. If you currently have a lot of open accounts on your books, you've got to rethink your attitude on that. You can't afford to be a bank. Your margins today aren't like what they were 10 and 15 years ago, okay? They're just not there. 10 or 15, 20 years ago, you had really strong margins on everything, especially on the whole good side of your business. You could afford to be a bank 15 or 20 years ago. Your dad could afford to be the bank. If you're a son that's taking over the dealership, times have changed. Your margins are tight. You don't have the ability to do that anymore. So look at your accounts receivable and think in your mind, is there a way I can change this, get rid of some of this to get this cash flow coming back in? Insurance is another area that I always look at when we're in dealerships. You know, I know a lot of you as owners, as principals, maybe as general managers, you're getting insurance from people in your own community, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're in small businesses. One of our requirements, an important thing that we do in small businesses is to support other small businesses in our community. But I'm telling you, there's many times that when we are consulting with dealers and we're looking at the insurance, and I'm sitting there going like, wow, that seems high. That seems like you're paying too much for it. Well, I've always done insurance, Bob. I've always done insurance with this guy. He's always taken care of me. Doesn't mean that you should stop buying insurance from somebody that buys from you or whatever, but there is sure nothing wrong with you sending your insurance out for other people to take a look at and bid on. I have seen dealers save $10,000 and $15,000 a year on bidding their insurance out. And many times they don't necessarily change who they were doing with in the past, but it kind of forces that person to quit taking you for taking advantage of you, or taking you just assuming that you're going to keep buying from them, and it forces them to go back and look for better options for you. So I'm telling you again, it's not uncommon in a dealership to find a dealer, especially with the different properties and the different LLCs and stuff that are set up in dealerships today, that are overpaying on insurance, and you just shouldn't do that. Insurance is one of those things that I would tell you at least every couple of years you should take your insurance policies, you should have other people look at them, bid on them, and price it out. And insurance is an expense we have to have, and it is crazy to pay more for it than we absolutely need to have. And the other one is on taxes. And one of the things that drives me nuts, and I know there are a lot of you have people again in your community that are taking care of your accounting or things like this, but there are a lot of things out there that I see dealers are just not taking advantage of in their business because their accountant really doesn't understand the dealership. And so you're paying more taxes than you need to pay. And I'm not telling you not to pay taxes, right? I mean, you know, they do terrible with our tax money, but we have a legal obligation to pay it. So I want you to pay whatever you owe. But I'm telling you, don't pay more than you do owe. I get sick of all these people that have all this money telling us, oh, we need to pay more taxes. They could pay more taxes. There's nothing that stops the government from letting them send a check to the Revenue Department. Our goal, again, is to try to save as much of our money as we can. I need to pay the taxes that I need to pay, but I'm not willing to pay more than I need to pay. And you need to make sure that your accountant is looking at every aspect, everything they can do to help you mitigate your tax liability at the end of the year. That's all cash flow. It's cash in your money that's going to somebody who doesn't really need it. So those are some things that I want you to take a look at from a bleeding standpoint. The other one is your employees. And again, this is the one that just drives me nuts also. If you guys have heard me speak before in webinars, I hate bad employees. You know, and what we have to do again is we got to say, and we got to take a look at our employees and say, okay, are all of my employees having a positive impact on my bottom line every day? When I come in the morning, am I excited to see my employees? Or when I come in the morning, am I excited to see some of my employees, and I'm hoping the other people will have left so I don't have to fire them? So you got to go back and you got to look at your employees and say, are my people performing at the level I need them to perform at, so that I can achieve the goals that I'm trying to achieve? If they got bad attitudes, they're sucking money out of your, not only are they sucking money out of your dealership, but they're sucking the energy out of the people they're around. You can't put up with bad attitude employees. You're not going to fix their attitudes. I mean, I don't know how many times I'm working with owners that go, well, if I could just change his attitude. You can't change people's attitudes. You got to understand that as an owner, as a manager. People choose an attitude. You don't have any ability to change it. Right? You don't have any ability to really to impact it. They either choose to have a good attitude or they choose to have a bad attitude. And if you're paying money for people to come in every day that hate your business, that have a bad attitude, you're insane, right? It's costing you cash flow. So if you got people with bad attitudes, you need to give them the ultimatum. You need to come in here with a good attitude, turn it around, or I don't want you. And this is a perfect time of year to be doing it anyway. Most of you guys are getting ready to transition out of season into postseason, and then we all know that slow season comes up. And everybody right now should be evaluating every employee in your dealership and saying, is this somebody that I want to carry through to 2017? Can this person that I have, that I'm paying for every day, help me get to where I need to get to in 2017? And if you can't honestly answer that as a yes, you need to evaluate that person and say, well, you know what? I don't know if I want to carry them through slow season. I don't know if I want them to bleed that amount of cash off of me at slow season, so that I ultimately wish I'd have got rid of them in 2017. So I'm just telling you again, this is the time of year you should be evaluating every employee you have in your dealership and asking that question. And I know you say, oh, Bob, but you don't get it. It's so hard to find good people. I know it's hard to find good people. I got 12 employees of my own. I got the best team I've ever had. Doesn't mean that one of them won't leave. I hope they don't, right? But my job always is to be working on finding better and better people, right? I don't look at replacing anybody I've got right now. Like I said, I've got the best team in the 30 years I've been in business. I have the best team I've ever had, right? A process to get them. And they are expensive to have. I get it, but I wouldn't want to trade any one of them. And I'm looking forward to 2017, going into 2017 with the 12 people that I've got on my staff right now. We're going to kick it in 2017 because I got the people to do it. They got great attitudes, do anything, can't stop kind of people. Overstaffing. Are you overstaffed? You go, yeah, Bob, but parts department says they need more people. Really? Service department says they need more people. Really? Sales department doesn't even know who the people are coming in. Overstaffing is a big issue. When we go into a dealership and do consulting in the dealership, one of the common things we find is you got too many people, right? Your processes are so bad, your people's performance is so low, you just keep throwing body after body after body, thinking if I just have enough people, Bob, everything will be changed. No, it won't. People do not solve your problems. Processes solve your problems. If you've got bad processes, you throw people at a bad process, it doesn't improve anything. You just increase your overhead and you're draining cash flow out of your business. So you got to go back and say, okay, how many people should I really have at a parts counter? The rule of thumb is pretty simple. If you go back, if you're in outdoor power equipment, you need a person for about every $350,000 to $400,000 of part sales. Right? If you're in outdoor power and compact tractor, utility tractor, that can go up to about $450,000 to $500,000. If you're in big ag construction, something like that, that can go from $500,000 to about $750,000 of part sales per parts person. Same thing in the shop. Every person, every piece of the business has a number attached to it. You need to evaluate it. And do you have too many people that are not doing the right things, that are sucking the life out of your business? And then lower no expectations. And that's the other thing. And I just was on a webcast this morning with a wonderful dealer, and the biggest challenge he has is that he hasn't really set any expectations for his people. He's got good people. I've been in this dealership. They just don't know what he expects of them. And he gets frustrated because they're not doing what he expects them to do, but I'll be darned, he's not had meetings on a regular basis to constantly reinforce his expectations. And so, again, what happens is it all starts to bleed off. And now I got good employees who are not good employees, not because they're not wired to be good employees, but I got an owner that's just not giving them the expectations of what they need to do. And I know every owner goes, Bob, they should know. I've hired them. They should know. They don't know. And we're going to talk about that in one of the other principles there. But I want you to understand that low or no expectations is an issue that you've got to fix as an owner or manager yourself, making sure that your people know what you expect of them. We have meetings twice a week with our people, and they know what their expectations are, and they know where we're at. And again, I think that's a part of what builds a great, strong team and helps to bleed that cash flow off. So I want you to be thinking about stop the bleeding. What can you do to stop the bleeding? Where are you bleeding, and get it stopped? Only you can do that. Number two is to generate instant income. I just tell people, it amazes me, and I've been there before, so I'm going to say guilty as charged. But gosh darn, we spend a fortune looking for dimes, and we walk over $100 bills. And I tell my owners and my managers, just start picking up the cash that's laying on the floor. I don't care what dealership you are. I don't care how big or how small you are. You have $100 bills that you walk over every day. That will generate you instant income. It's all about that income, that cash flow coming in. And people that are really successful in dealerships, highly successful and highly profitable, are constantly going back and saying, are we walking over $100 bills here? Are we walking past big piles of money and focusing on dimes and dollars? And that's what I'm talking about here. The number one area that I find in most dealerships is they're underpricing their parts and service. Again, I can't tell you how many times, and again, I'll say yesterday I was on a webcast with a dealer, and it's a wonderful dealership, but they're about 15% under the market where they should be with their parts. They're doing a little bump on their parts over MSRP, but nothing where they should be at. And they're doing about $700,000 worth of part sales, and they're off of their margins by probably a minimum of 10%. So I was telling the owner, I said, he said, we just tight on cash. And I go like, well, you let in my mind, you left $75,000 of profit on the floor because you didn't tweak your margins out using your business management software to get those parts margins up where the market will let you be at. He goes like, well, I don't want to price myself out of business. You're going to die in your business because you're leaving $75,000 a year on the floor because you're not tweaking your margins out. You're not tweaking your parts out. Yeah, but Bob, my people say that our parts are already too high. I go, well, how do you know that? Well, that's what my people tell me. Well, how do they know that? They go, well, I don't know. And I said, well, ask them. And I said, you know, what they're going to do is they're going to say, well, we have people come in every day and complain about our price. Really? Everybody has that. 15% of the population are price sensitive. So if you have 10 people come up to your parts counter, 2 should tell you that your price is too high. And if you have less than 2 out of every 10 say it, your prices aren't high enough. So reprice your parts. Get your margins where they need to be. And the same thing that drives me nuts on service. Right, I've got guys out there that have their posted labor rate $10, $15 below where it should be for their marketplace. Right? If you got a couple of techs or 3 techs, I mean, you're leaving $50, $70, $100,000 a year on the floor just because you're not pricing your service out correctly. So make sure that you're picking up that cash. There's very few dealerships out there that couldn't pick up another $30,000 or $40,000 a year by tweaking your parts margins out and getting your service, your posted labor rate so that it's right for your marketplace. Quit calling around to other dealers to find out what their posted labor rate is. That's not how you set your labor rate, right? Stop doing that. All that is we call that pooling ignorance. You call up 8 other dealers that do the same thing you do, and they're not going to move their price till you move their price. You move your price up, everybody else will follow, and dear Lord, everybody will make more money. So make sure that you're picking up that cash that's on the floor out there right now. Sell your parts and service with equipment. This is the other thing I tell my guys to do. You know, when you got a sales department out there that's selling whole goods, dear Lord, every one of them has a service package that's set up with it, or that you should have set up with it. Why do you not spiff your salespeople if they sell that first 50-hour service or that first 200-hour service with that equipment? Why not sell service and parts as a part of the whole goods sale? They're going to service it anyway. Right? So if you've got a tractor, let's say I'm with Yanmar here, I've got a Yanmar compact tractor, and the first service on that tractor is $350. Build it into the finance plan as a part of it. It costs the customer nothing. Give the salesperson a 10% spiff on it. Let him pick up $35, and now we've pre-sold service and parts on that piece of equipment. Once it comes in the first time, 70% of the time, they'll bring it back and let me continue to do service on it. So make sure that your service and parts managers, this is their responsibility, have built a service package for each piece of equipment you sell, get it priced out, make it available for the service or the sales department to sell as a part of the equipment sale. There is nothing better than pre-selling service and parts on equipment. Worst case scenario, they never bring it back for service, and so you've got 100% profit on everything, right? Best case scenario is they do bring it in for service, and then 70% of the time from that point on, that equipment will continue to be serviced. So make sure that you're selling parts and service packages with every piece of equipment, or at least make it an option for that customer of yours. Sell extended warranty programs and insurance. Again, it's one of the things that you got to do. Most of you have available extended warranty programs, and people go, yeah, Bob, but I would never buy one. It's not your money. Give people who are buying the equipment from you the option of buying an extended warranty program and insurance if possible, if you can create that for them. There's a ton of money in it. I tell people, again, 30% of the people out there will buy extended warranty programs based upon the statistics in that industry. 70% won't, but so what? If 70% of the people don't want to buy it, I'm not going to force it on them, but why not make extended warranty programs and insurance available to customers who buy your equipment? So if they do something stupid and run it into a tree, into a lake, turn it over, hopefully they don't get hurt on it, but they damage it, then have insurance for it. Most of their homeowners insurance won't cover everything that you think it will, and most of these people will spend the extra money, especially as you get into compact utility tractors and bigger equipment. They will spend the extra money to buy insurance and the extended warranty programs for it. So I just want you to think about that. I tell my salespeople, just because you don't buy it doesn't mean somebody else will. At least make it an option. And again, it's easy cash that you can pick up on a sale that's already going to take place out there. And then my last one on generate instant income is stop negotiating with cash. Make sure if your service and your parts managers have done the correct thing, they should have a service package, as I said, with every piece of equipment already outlined. And so instead of the salesperson giving away cash, which costs you 100% of its value, right, negotiate with service and parts packages. If somebody wants you to knock $300 off on a Yanmar compact tractor, you don't knock the $300 off. You say, well, I can't do that, but what I can do is the first service on it's $350. How about I split the difference with you? So you say, no, you're going to have to give me the whole service. So what? Give them the whole $350 service. They got 50 they got $50 more than they thought they were going to get, and you only have about $150 in the service and the parts. So instead of giving away $300 cash, you gave away $150, assuming they come back and have the service done. They don't have the service done, you didn't give away anything, and you maintained all your cash. So I tell people, again, don't negotiate with cash. There's too many other things in the dealership we can negotiate with that we have margin in. We have zero margin in cash. Don't use cash as a negotiation tool. Number 3, build your culture. Create a culture that encourages employees to grow both professionally and personally. And again, you do that with weekly meetings. You can't meet once a month. You can't meet once a quarter, once a year. You got to meet weekly with your people. That's a part of what you have to do. You've got to create a culture where people know what you expect, that they're passionate about what you're doing, and that happens and only happens, I'm telling you, with weekly manager meetings. Every week, we do it twice a week. That's how important I believe it is. Every week in your dealership, once a week at a minimum, you should bring your managers together if you're an owner or a general manager, and each manager should have a moment in that meeting where they say, here's where we're at, here's the struggles we're having, here's the issues or the positive things that are happening with my employees, so we as a management team can hear that information. I need to know if I'm a parts manager, if you have a service tech that you're having issues with. So if you're not there, I can keep my eyes on things for you. On the same token, I need to know as a parts manager, if you're a service manager, that you got a service tech that is performing over and above the call of duty, because I also want to encourage them and pat them on the back and lift them up. That's what it is. It's about building a culture that when your employees come in every morning, they feel like they have an opportunity, not just to get a paycheck. We all want that. But people want to grow. They want to grow personally. What are you doing to grow the people personally, and what are you doing to grow them professionally? That's how you keep passionate, excited, motivated employees in your dealership, right? Create a culture. It goes with training. And I tell people again, like this webinar. I do webinars with Rural Lifestyle about every 90 days. And I tell people again, gosh, and we record them all, and Rural Lifestyle sends you out a link on them. They're an hour. You don't have to go through the whole thing in an hour, but think about all the different webinars and things like this that you have the ability to put your people through. Take them at lunchtime and buy pizzas once a month or once a week and say, look, I'm buying pizzas. We're going to listen to Bob's workshop on, I did one here a while back on closing and negotiating sales for Rural Lifestyle Dealer Magazine. Have them go back and listen to that. Have them go back and listen to the one I did, Managing by the Numbers. Right? Have them go back and buy them pizza. So what's that cost you? But it's training, right? It gets their minds going in the right direction out there. And I think too many times we're not spending the time to develop our people. You want good people, you've got to develop them. It's like kids. If you got kids, right, you can let them go on their own. You can let them find their own way. They're going to be a nightmare, or you can grow them. You want to grow them, and you want to support them and encourage them, right, and build them up. That's a part of what you're doing, and you want to teach them about your values and your ethics and what you believe. That's a part of what you do. That's what you're doing in your business with your employees. Think of your employees like your children. You as an owner or manager or the parent, your job is to grow them. You grow them, and it'll be a huge benefit to your business. They will stay there, and it's not always about the money. It's about the growth and the things like that you want to do. And then again, I just tell people again, random rewards for exceptional performance. We do this in our business, and I want to encourage you to do it in your business. When you catch, the key to good training is catching an employee doing the right thing without you telling them, and then rewarding them in front of everybody for what they did. So if I had, let's say I had a young man or a young lady that was in charge of taking care of my lot, keeping it organized and straightened up or whatever, and I saw him come in one morning, there was a rag laying in the driveway, a shop towel, and the person came in and they picked it up and they put it back, and they didn't say anything to anybody. They didn't want anybody's attention, but I saw that as an owner. I'm going to walk up to that employee. I'm going to have a gift card in my pocket for some sort of $10 for some, I don't care if it's a Dairy Queen, a Hardee's, a McDonald's, an Applebee's, whatever it is. Have a gift card with you. And I'm going to walk up to that employee. When they're in front of everybody, I'm going to say, hey, Bob, or hey, Sally, I know you didn't notice that I was noticing and watched you, but I saw you pick that up out there to take care of this lot. I really appreciate what you did. That's the kind of thing that we all have to do around here to create a better experience for our customers and a better look for our dealership. Here's a card for $15 or $10 for the whatever fast food place it is. I don't care if it's an Amazon card or a Walmart card. Give them something that they didn't expect in front of people who didn't know you were going to do it, and you want to see people's attitudes change. Everybody will be trying to figure out, what can I do to get one of those cards? And they're going to ask you, well, what do I need to do to get one? Just do the right things. Let me catch you doing the right things, right? I just randomly do this. I just wanted to make sure and recognize this. And I'm telling you, people will go out of their way to try to figure out how they can please you to get one of those cards, and make it random. Don't set up a way to do it. Don't set up a process. I want people to be thinking every day, what can I do, right? What can I do to help this dealership? What can I do to make this place better? I hope I get caught doing the right thing so I too can get a card and be praised in front of everybody else. I'm telling you, people, it is so inexpensive and it is so powerful. And it's such an easy way to build that culture in there. You want people fired up about your business, you get fired up about your business. You want people to do the right thing, you catch them doing the right thing, then you reward them for that in a random way, and everybody in that dealership is going to try to figure out, how do I get one of those silly cards? And if they don't care, then there probably goes back to the one we talked about with employee with a bad attitude. If they don't care, it doesn't make any difference to them. You probably got the wrong employee in there anyway. So I want you to be thinking about building and create that culture. You want a culture where people are passionate. I want them passionate about the dealership. I want them passionate about their customers. I want them passionate about the products. If you're selling Yanmar, I want your salespeople coming every day passionate about Yanmar and what Yanmar is bringing to the marketplace. That's what it's important to have in your dealership. Define and refine your processes. I tell all of my dealers, repeatability creates profitability, right? And that's a part of what we have to do. And dealerships that are successful really get focused on processes. What is the process that we have in service? You've been on my webinars before. You know, I have a very defined process, which is why we can get such a high recovery rate and a high tech efficiency out of the shop. Everything from the moment a piece of equipment comes into the shop to the moment it's delivered back to the customer has a defined process that we are constantly measuring and adjusting. Same thing in parts. What's your process in parts? You go, oh, what do you mean process in parts? Well, it starts when parts come in the morning from the manufacturers. What do we do? How do we process through? How do we process emergency orders? How do we process special orders? How do we process and move parts back to the shop? Right? Where are our parts located at? How do we reduce our transaction time? How do we make our parts transactions faster so I need less people? It's all about process. Same thing in sales. Sales is a process. There's no magic. There's no mystery to sales. You follow a process in sales, you're going to hit your sales targets and your sales goals. You've got to, as an owner or as a manager, look at every department, look at the processes that has. It always starts off with, ultimately, what I want to do is have the customer have a positive experience. That's where you start a process. That's the end result. And then you just start going backwards, step by step by step, and say, what do I have to do to make that happen? I want every customer that comes into that dealership to be passionate and excited about doing business with me as a dealer, because they're going to go out and tell other people that they know about our dealership and what we're doing and recommend other people come in. You guys all know that the best marketing is still word of mouth, and if we've got good, strong, refined processes, that's how we can create that word of mouth. So I want you to be thinking about that. And when you're in your manager meetings every week, like I know you're going to be doing after this webinar, your service manager should start building out a defined process. You should be talking about that in that meeting. What's our process? Parts manager should have it. Sales manager should have it, or your salespeople should have it. What do we do? What's our follow-up process in sales? How do we handle leads coming in off the internet? How do we handle phone calls coming in? Who's tracking it? Is it going into some sort of a CRM system so that we can look at it and see what the next steps are and what we're doing if what we're doing is working out there? So everything has a process to it. Part of what you got to do to be successful in business is define the process and then never, ever stop refining the process. I tell every dealership we go into, we have a process for everything in every part of a dealership, but it's not a perfect process because every dealership is a little different. I could put the processes in place. It's your responsibility to refine them to make it perfect for your dealership. Every dealership's different. Every area that a dealership in is different. I get it. We've been doing dealerships for 30 years now, right? Doesn't mean you can't have a process. Everything has a process to it. So get those processes down and refine and start seeing things that are really exciting start happening in your dealership as a part of it. Then create a plan. I go back again. I mean, it's insane that I have to say this. When I ask dealers, as I go into the fall, and I'm going to ask every dealer that we consult with, we have almost 2,000 we work with, what's your plan for 2017? And they go, well, I hope we do better than 2015. Hope's not a plan. Hope's not a strategy. Okay, so what's our plan going to be? Where are we going to need our sales numbers to be at? Right? Well, who knows, Bob? We don't know what the economy's going to be like. Are you kidding me? stuff is still sold out there, even though the economy's bad, the weather's bad, right? It's dry. People still buy stuff. It's harder to sell them. The perk you have is every other dealership that you compete against you with has probably lazy salespeople who aren't going to go do anything. You've got a plan and a strategy with your salespeople. You can go out and take business from them, right? Have a plan in place, right? Don't fight fires. Have a plan. Don't chase ghosts. Have a plan. What are you going to do? I don't know, Bob. We're just going to cross our fingers and hope. You're ghost chasing, right? You're ghost hunting. I don't want you to do that. Have a plan in place. You know, we're in an election cycle right now, and you know, the thing that drives me crazy about everybody that's running for president, I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, a Libertarian, right, or a Green Party candidate. None of them have a plan. All they're doing is telling us all what they think we want to hear. Dear Lord, give me a plan. Just give me a plan, right? The last big plan we had, well, Reagan had a great plan, right, which is how we got the Soviet Union down. John Kennedy had a great plan. That's how we got to the moon, right? Because they had a plan. They had something big that we all as a country could embrace and get a hold of. You want to keep the country from being separated? Create a good plan. Get us all on board with something that's big, that's almost out of the reach of the normal human being out there. That's what gets us passionate and gets us excited. Without a plan, we quabble, we fight, we hate each other, and we don't. But that's what happens. Same thing in your dealership. You have no plan, right? Everything starts falling apart in your dealership. Have a good plan. Create it. Where are you going, and then what are you going to need to get there? And that's something that you talk about in every management meeting you do. How are we on our plan? How are we on our service plan? How are we on our parts plan? How are we on our sales plan? Well, we're struggling a little bit. Well, what can we do as a management team to help you along the way? What can I do as an owner? What's the plan? How are we doing on it? And what do we need to get to where we need to be? It's a game changer. Owners, managers, it's a game changer. Create a plan, line it out, make it a little more than what you can believe you can do, but not so impossible to achieve, and you're going to see some awesome things happen in there. You owe it to your dealership to create a plan, right? Create a plan, and things are going to happen in a positive way for you. Then incorporate the right people. There's an old saying, you'll never find the right person if you never let go of the wrong one. And I always tell people, it's the same thing. Hire the right people, give them direction, then empower them to achieve your goals. And the question you have to ask yourself, again, is do I have the right people in place? This is a common theme I hear in sales. Oh, Bob, he's a really good technician. He just can't get along with anybody. He's a really good technician, Bob. He's an A technician, but he has a tendency to throw tools. He's an A technician. He just doesn't get along with people, and I would never let him talk to a customer. Really? Okay, so you figure this is the best that you could possibly do as a technician. Well, Bob, you just don't know how hard it is to find good technicians. I know it's hard to find, but you don't have the right person there. This is not going to let your shop grow to where you want to need it to go. About the first time he throws a wrench and hits somebody with it, and you get a workers' comp claim or a lawsuit against you, you're going to go, man, I probably should have got rid of this guy years ago. Hire the right people. If you don't have the right people, right, find them. And this is a perfect time to be looking for the right people. As we're getting ready to move into post and slow season out there, don't carry the wrong people through the season with you. Do you have the right people in place to get you to where you want to go? And if you don't, part of your responsibility as an owner, part of your responsibility as a manager is to find those people. Are they hard to find? Yes, they are. Right? But we're big. We're adults. We can do hard things. It's a part of what we have the ability to do. I challenge you to do that. I challenge you to look at your people. I challenge you to say, and just ask yourself a question. Walk up to your parts counter and just silently say to yourself, do I have the right people in place? Is my manager the right guy or gal to do this? Go back to the parts department as an owner and just step back there for a second and don't say it out loud. Just say it to yourself and ask yourself a very important question. Do I have the right people in place in my service department to get me to where I really want to go as a dealership? And the same thing in sales, right? I was talking to a dealership earlier this week, and they've got 38 salespeople, so it's a big group of dealerships, and all their salespeople are on straight salary. And they're going like, I don't know, we just can't get our people to do what they need to do. It's really tough out there in the big ag market. And I go, yeah, 3 years ago, my grandmother could sold combines, right? My family all are big farmers, right? Today it's tough. They go, well, what are we going to do? And I said, the first thing you need to do is get your people off a straight salary and put them on some sort of base plus commission. Well, then they'll leave. Well, then you don't have the right people. Okay, it's just that simple. They're not doing anything now, so why not put them in a position to get them where you want to go? And if they're not willing to be there, then let's find somebody that'll do it. You got a great product, right? You got a great brand that you're representing. You just got people that are lazy because you're allowing them to be lazy by just giving them X amount of money whether they make any calls or not, X amount of money whether they sell anything or not. Well, they did 3 years ago. Everybody could have done good 3 years ago, right? Now it's where we really have to get down and play business. Do you have the right people in place, right? Do they know what you're trying to do? Share your vision. I tell all of my owners, the vision is like a bucket with holes in it, right? You cast a vision, you have a plan. Here's where we're going. Here's where I see our dealership going. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. You cast a vision. Then you have to keep casting it. Every week when you meet with your people, say, just don't forget, guys, why we're here. Our number one reason we're here is to generate revenue. We're here to be profitable and to have customers walk out of this dealership and share the experience that they had with us, with their friends and their neighbors. That's how you grow your business, right? But do your people know that? When I walk up to the parts counter and I say, hey, what do you think that customer that just left the parts counter will say about us? And your parts person goes, I don't know. Hope they talk nice about us. Really? Is that what you're hoping again, that strategy thing, right? Here's what I need you to do. Make sure that everybody that leaves this parts counter has a positive experience. I want them to walk away and says, man, they got great prices and they have the parts that I need, which goes back to basic fill rates for a parts department. I want people to walk away from the service department and say, man, they're a little high over there, but if you want it done right, that's where you want it done at. That's the vision I want to come out of that service department. I want people to walk away from your parts department and say, man, they got great products and they're fair to deal with. Not easy, not the cheapest. I just need you to say I'm fair. And that's the kind of vision that I need you to share with your people so that they start knowing that every customer they touch, they have to have that person walk away with a little piece of that vision. They have that person, that customer walk away and understand a little bit better about why you exist as a dealership. Incorporate your people into this process. That's number 6. Do they know what you're trying to do? Have you shared with your people? Not just your plan, but your vision. What do you want people to say about your parts counter? What do you want people to say about your service department? What do you want people to say about your sales department? That's vision, right? And you've got to share that with your people. And you've got to get them to understand that every person that leaves that spot, they need to say that vision. They need to get a glimpse of it, a piece of it. They're going to go out and tell other people about you. That's how you're going to grow your business big and strong and healthy and profitable, right? Then have you empowered them to achieve the results that you're looking for? Right? Treat employees like they make a difference, and they will make a difference. Empowerment, empowerment, empowerment. Don't over-empower them. Don't give them the ability to do something they don't have the skill set to do, but constantly work on empowering your people to do better and bigger things, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to grow our people to a point where they don't need us anymore. I tell all my owners, your ultimate goal in your dealership, if you're an owner, is to get your people to a point where they don't need you anymore so you can do other things or do nothing if that's what you choose to do. Most of the owners we work with are nothing more than a highly paid employee. Actually, they're nothing more than a poorly paid employee who works a lot of hours because you're not incorporating your people into the process. You're not teaching them, you're not training them, you're not casting the vision with them, and most importantly, you're not empowering them to do it. You make them come to you for any decision. You need to give your people the authority to make decisions without you being there. Let them know what they can do and what they can't do. Customer walks up to the parts counter and is upset. Let them know they have the power, the authority to make decisions to make that customer happy. I don't care if it costs me $50 or $100. You know, think about the kind of damage one employee that's upset at you can do if you don't handle it correctly. The $100 that it might cost you is insignificant to the damage, the financial damage and the damage to your reputation that customer can do. I don't care if the customer's right or wrong. Take care of it and empower your employees to do that. Same thing in service, same thing in sales. Incorporate your people into this process. That's the thing that you're paying the big dollars for. Bring them in, get them going in the right direction, and empower them to do the things that you know that you need them to do. And finally, as we go back, and the most important part of this whole thing is number 7, successful dealerships measure, monitor, and are constantly adjusting. Once you do the other 6, then your job as an owner or as a manager is to focus on number 7. We're always measuring how we're doing, monitoring what's going on, and then we're tweaking and making adjustments as we go through this process to make sure that we've got everybody that we're working with doing the things that we need them to do. If you have business management software, this is relatively easy to do. If you don't, then it's a little more difficult. Every department has key performance indicators measuring against, but I want to measure your people's performance. I want to measure our departmental performance. Is it going where we want? If it's not, then we talk about this in those weekly meetings with our owners, and we say, why is it not going where we need it to go, right? And then we make adjustments to it, and we let our management team know that next week together we're going to look at this again because we're going to monitor everything for the week to see where we're at, and then we'll make adjustments accordingly. So you don't do it once a year by looking at your financials. You don't do it once a quarter or once a month. This is a constant, ongoing, never-ending process. Measure, monitor, and adjust. I'm a pilot, instrument rated, right? If I'm in weather, in clouds I can't see, I'm constantly looking at my gauges. When I'm in the air, I've got wind currents that are constantly shifting and trying to take me off course. And if I let that wind do that, I'm not going to end up where I need to be. I'm probably going to crash and burn because I'll run out of fuel. I'm constantly measuring, monitoring, and adjusting as I go through. If you're on a commercial airline, 80% of the time you're off course because that airplane is being moved by air currents through the skies. The pilot is constantly measuring, monitoring, and adjusting the path of that plane so that, and the only part of the whole trip that is important is when you're getting ready to land the airplane. You got to be right at that point. That's the ultimate place. But up to that point, folks, they're measuring, they're monitoring, and adjusting constantly throughout that flight to make sure that that plane lands at the right spot on the right airfield. That's what you have to do in your business. It's a never-ending process, and it's the number one thing that you have to do as owners and managers to measure, monitor, and adjust what's going on. And if you do those things, I'm telling you, and I've been doing this 30 years, we have thousands of dealers that we work and consult with, this is it. These are the 7 principles that I believe that make a high-performance dealership a high-performance dealership. You're all doing some of them. I know you are, right? But are you doing all of them? And even if you're doing all of them, are you doing all of them excellently? Are you doing all of them at the top? And none of us are. So this is a part of the process where we go back to that measure, monitor, and adjust again. If we're not doing everything perfectly, and you never will be, you constantly adjust, tweak, and measure. Get your people involved and get the things going like that way. And if you do those things, folks, I'm telling you, just from all my years of experience doing this, you do these 7 things and you constantly stay focused on them, your life is going to be so much better, so much easier. From an ownership standpoint, your people are going to be excited and passionate about where you're going in the business. They're going to be excited about what you're trying to do. They're going to feel like they're growing and they're expanding both personally and professionally. You're going to have cash coming into your business that starts to flow out of your pockets, right, into other things that you're trying to do instead of any other way. Those are the things there. I believe in my heart if you do those things, it's going to drastically change your dealership and your business. Let's go ahead and open it up for questions, Michael.
That's great, Bob. I think you gave everybody a lot to think about here. And we have had a number of questions come in. One of them actually touches on something you just mentioned here. What, in your estimation, what percentage of dealers practice all or most of these 7 principles? And I guess just as a follow-up with what you had just said, how many of them do you think are doing them as well as they should be doing?
Well, I would say 80% of the dealers do some of them. Okay, I don't think I've ever found a dealer that didn't do part of them. They may not have been aware that they were doing them. I mean, a lot of dealers we consult with are doing things that they're just not aware that they're doing. They're doing the right things, but they're not aware that they're doing it, so they don't measure or monitor it. So it's a great question. So I'd say 80% of the dealers are doing it. The 20% that aren't are kind of on their way out, and I don't mean that in a negative way. They just don't get it. And I would say of the 80% that do it, probably none of us do it perfectly, and I'm going to put myself in that group too. I mean, well, it's easy to talk about. It's not as easy to do because you constantly have to be focused on it, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to do in my business today. We're growing faster than we've ever grown. Part of it is I got the right team in place, and I'm doing what I do well, and I've got people that are doing the other measuring, monitoring, adjusting. My daughter, Sarah, runs our company, and she's really in charge of that and keeping on those things like that. So that's part of, she does other things too, but that's part of what her task is to stay on top of that for us. So I'd like to say I do them all perfectly. My daughter Sarah would tell you that I don't. I'm probably the world's worst manager. I get that. You know, I do what I do well, and then I bring other people around me that do what they do well. So it's a great question. I mean, I would say probably 80% of the dealers do some of them, and I would say probably 10 or 20% of the dealers do all of them fairly well, and all of us could do all of them better. So,
okay, great.
Myself included in that, Brad.
In your experience, what have you seen work best as far as building culture, better attitudes across multiple store locations?
You know, it's a great question. I would say I've got several dealers that there's actually one that I was with not too long ago in Georgia. Every day, the wife is a phenomenal cook, and they have a kitchen, and every day she fixes lunch for everybody every day. And they have an incredible culture in that, and they use the dollars. People say, well, that'd be expensive. They use part of their marketing money to offset the costs of it. But they've got a lot of employees, so it's not a small little dealership. And I'm telling you, this lady knows how to cook. I would go out of my way just to be at their dealership at lunchtime to eat her food. So that's one of the things. And I have several dealers to do that. I've got a dealership up in Connecticut, a Snow White, wonderful dealership, Outdoor Power, and they do that, and they have food and to do it. So that's a part of it. It builds that kind of family feel, that experience that's going on there. So those are great ways to do it. Do events for your employees away from the business. Take them out to things. Have cookouts at your home or things like that where the employees can bring their families to it. Don't just wait till Christmas time to do something, but let your employees know that their whole family is important to you. Because their family is important to them. So things like that, we spend a lot of money in our business doing things to attract customers, but I'm telling you, your customers are going to be attracted to a dealership that has employees that love working for the dealership they work for. So it makes sense to me to spend some of the money that you would spend in marketing really back on your employees in terms of food and events and things like this. Make them feel like they're more than just an employee, that they're a part of a team. And I think those are some things there that I've seen dealers do that really has an impact. Again, we bring our team in. Our team's kind of scattered across the country. Most of us are in Kansas City, but we try to bring everybody in at least once a quarter. We have a family night with them. They bring their kids and stuff. We have an event where they can bring their kids if they bring their kids in with them, and we try to make sure that we tie in everything and everybody together. And I think it has a positive impact for our company anyway.
With those folks that you have working remote, do you use things like webcasts and Skype to personalize it a little bit?
We do. We have a platform. We have what called dealer success groups. So we meet with 200 dealers constantly on webcams. Off and on. I've had 3 webcam meetings this morning before I did on this. So we use a platform called Zoom, Zoom. We love it. It's easy. It's efficient. So I have a dealership right now. They've got the one I was on at 7 o'clock this morning. We started working with their sales teams. They have 3 stores, and now they're meeting on Zoom meetings. So their people, once a week, they just get on a camera, a webcam, and they can click onto this Zoom meeting, and it's as though we're all together there. So I'm at the lake today. They were in Pennsylvania, and we all it was as though I was in their meeting and they were all in different locations, and it worked out great. So
great.
That's how we do it with our people.
Perfect. Do you think the single store family-owned dealership still has a place in the industry?
Absolutely. I think it has a bigger place than it's ever had. I think the thing that some of the manufacturers are finding as they're consolidating and bringing these dealerships that used to compete against each other together, the family doesn't fit quite as well as they thought it would be. And I have a lot of these smaller dealerships that are the single location dealerships that are getting the advantage of the people. The customers are not having the experience in most cases with these big, large conglomerate dealerships because the people aren't connected to them. So absolutely, I think that manufacturers, as they get multiple location dealerships and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, let's face it, it becomes more and more complex to keep everybody on the same page. And so I think you have an advantage as a small family-owned business if customer service and that customer experience, if you believe like I do, it's ultimately the most important thing, regardless of anything else, and I think you find that it is. I think the small single or 2 or 3 store operation has a much better competitive advantage in a marketplace than some big 20 or 30 store location. Because I'm telling you, I've been in this a long time, and I've seen this before, and they just can't deliver the kind of experience in a big store like that. You can't communicate that message effectively as you can in smaller stores. So yeah, I'd love to go head to head with a big conglomerate. I think I could kick them all day long.
Okay. Here's another one that came in. No manager can measure every financial metric within the dealership. However, what are the most critical metrics to weekly monitor?
Well, again, you go back just some basics. So if we go back to service, we go back to recovery rate. That's the most important metric to be measuring in the service department. So let's do that. That's just your number of hours a technician work divided into the hours that they build out that day, and it should be no less than 85%. So if you can't measure anything else, that's an easy measurement to do. As we look at parts, we're looking at transaction time. So how long is it taking us to move a customer from the parts counter back out the door? Depending upon the type of product you have, but it should be anywhere between maybe 4 and 6 minutes. So that's a fairly easy measurement we could do. So I mean, just those two there tell me a lot about if our transaction time is slow or lagging in the parts department, something's broken your process. If our recovery rate is slow or below in the service department, your process is broken. And the same thing in sales. It's just measure how many people did we talk to today, and out of those, what percent of those people that bought did buy. Just what's your closing ratio by either as the dealership or by salesperson. It's an easy calculation to do, right? And if it's less than 40 or 45%, your sales process is broken. So just I could take those three things there: recovery rate, transaction time, closing ratio by salesperson or by the sales department, and I can tell you if your processes are broken or not with just those three simple things, and I can do that in about 3 minutes. So you don't have to have lots of numbers. It's just looking at the right numbers.
Got it. Okay, we've got time for one or two more here. What is the single thing a dealer should begin doing today that will have the greatest impact on their business over the coming 3 to 5 years?
I would say, great question. Put a plan in place. Just figure out where you want to go in 5 years. What do you want your dealership to look like in 5 years? So to me, that's the first thing I would do. I'm assuming now that your cash flow, you're not bleeding to death. So let's assume that you got your cash flow taken care of, or you're working toward that. I would say have a really defined plan. So next year, this is where we want to be. Next year, this is where we want to be. In 2 years, maybe we want to add another location. So to me, I would say having a plan, and then creating a vision would be number 2 part of that. Incorporating your people in then would be probably number 3, and then the rest of it would kind of fall in place from there. But if you don't have a plan, you don't have it goes back again. You're hunting ghosts. Have a plan. Take the time as an owner to sit down this weekend and take a pencil and paper and a glass of sweet tea and set out in nature and write down in 5 years, this is what I'd love to see my dealership doing. Start there. I think it'd be a great place for you to start. And it doesn't have to be sweet tea. It could be unsweet.
Good. All right, well, I want to be conscious of everybody's time here. I think we had yet another informative session with Bob, and we certainly appreciate that. As I mentioned at the beginning of the program, the presentation and the audio are going to be made available on rurallifestyledealer.com in the event that you want to go back and review things at a slower pace. Also, keep an eye on your email for the handout that we'll get out to you from Bob. And you can keep an eye on our email newsletter as well as our daily updates about the availability of that playback. On behalf of Bob and our team here at Rural Lifestyle Dealer, as well as the folks at Yanmar who were good enough to sponsor this today's presentation, thanks for joining us.